This video tutorial will show you how to take a Flash animation file. This is an FLA, just regular Flash file, and we're going to export this so that we can bring it into a video editing program like Premiere. And that's where we can do all of our sound effects, our music. It's much better to do that in a different program than Flash because Flash can have some problems with syncing up audio. You bring in audio into Flash just to get your timings right, usually for lip syncs or for sound effects, and so I don't want to do my final cut here in Flash. What I want to do is come up here to File and choose Export, and you won't be able to see it, but we're choosing the middle option here, which is called Export Movie. And when I click on that, you'll see that under Save as Type you have several different options, and what we're looking at are the sequences. A sequence will allow us to create an image for every single frame of our animation, and then we can take all of those. If you have 500 frames, you'd have 500 images, and in our video editing program we can stitch them back together. I'm going to choose the JPEG sequence because it just makes things a little bit easier, and I want to make sure that I put these in a separate folder. If I just lay these out on the desktop or on a drive, you're going to have 500 images in there. So I've created a folder called Animation Sequence, and I want to call this file name something that I'll recognize, and it'll take each of those images and add a number to the end of it. So I'll just call it Fox Animation, have a JPEG sequence, and now I'll save. And here I have some options. Because Flash is a vector-based program, I can increase the size of my animation here when I export it without losing any quality. So if I didn't change any of the defaults in Flash, it should be at 550 pixels by 400 pixels. And I could easily double that size and get it to be much bigger, not quite high def, but much bigger without any difficulty. So I'm going to double this number. I'll make this 1100. One more zero. You see your height is doubled, the resolution is also doubled, and I would make sure that the quality is at 100, and I'm going to turn on progressive as well. And that'll just be every single frame is the entire frame. And then when I click OK, it might take a little while depending on the length of your animation. Mine's only about 2 seconds. But now, when I open up this sequence, you can see that this folder is full of the frames. And each of them is named just with the number afterwards. So now I'm ready to go. And if I double click on that, you can see each frame. If I played through them, you can see, and because I was animating on 2s, it does 2 for each frame. Now I can bring this into Premiere. So I've opened up Premiere, and I will create a new project. I'm going to save this project in my folder, my H drive. And I've made a folder specifically for that. I called it Animation Project. That's a little vague, but for now it'll be good. And the name of this is Fox Animation. So it'll save all of my project files inside of that folder, but with the name Fox Animation. I don't need to change anything else. I am just going to press OK, and then Premiere will open up. And in Premiere I have 4 screens. I have my preview screen, I have my final screen, which will show me what my finished project will look like. I have my project bin, which is where I bring in everything that I want to use, and I have my timeline. So we need to start by importing that image sequence. The easiest way to import is just to double click inside of the bin, or I can come up here to File, Import, and Control I does that too, but I'm just going to double click here, and then I will have to navigate to that folder that I've created. I want to choose the very first image only. So I want to choose the 0001, and I want to check mark this image sequence. That will look for any other file that has the same name and put them in the order of that number sequence. When I click Open, now it has created just a single file with that information in there. One of the issues you'll come across is that it's going to seem a little fast. If I double click on this, I can see it here in the preview window, and when I play it, it's quite a bit faster than I anticipated or what it looked like in Flash. The reason for that is because in Flash I was working at 24 frames per second, and in Premiere it's assuming that I want to do it at 30 frames per second. So it's actually running a little faster than I want. The way I can change that is by right-clicking on the file here in the project bin, going to Modify and choosing the second option, which is Interpret Footage. And I can say, instead of just defaulting to that 29.97 that's normal for video, I'm going to have it assume a 24 frames per second frame rate. And when I click OK, I don't think I need to change anything else here. I'm going to click OK, And now it should be running at the correct frame rate for what I was dealing with before. To bring it into the timeline, I can just pick this up and drag it. And now I have my little 2-second animation ready to go. You can see that this is the representation of that. It's a very visual program. If I want to zoom in on it, I can grab either end of this movement bar. If I drag them closer together, that lets me zoom in on this. So now I'm looking at 2 seconds here of this. And I can bring in audio the same way, and I'll show that in another tutorial how to bring in audio for this project as well. And then the very last tutorial will be how to export this as a finished movie file.